The letter said I owed a neighborhood association $1,180 for a farm the neighborhood had not even existed long enough to remember. It told me which color I was allowed to paint my barn. It told me my grass had to stay under 5 inches. It told me a lien could be placed on my land if I failed to comply. The problem was simple: they were wrong. But proving they were wrong forced me to open records nobody had looked at closely in years. And those records led me to the one thing on my property that changed everything. Water. My name is Calvin Mercer. For 29 years, I ran maintenance and facilities for a chain of county hospitals. Boilers, roof leaks, loading docks, generators, sprinkler systems, emergency repairs at 2 in the morning. If something broke, flooded, overheated, or smelled like electrical smoke, my phone rang. I was good at it. But by 56, I had spent half my life inside buildings with no windows, making sure everyone else's systems kept running. What I wanted was ground. Not a vacation place, not a polished country house with a porch swing staged for photographs. Ground. I wanted a place where the morning started with mud on my boots and ended with something growing because I had been there. So, when I retired, I started looking for an old farm with enough acreage to matter. That was how I found the Whitlow place. 52 acres, 7 miles outside Bellwether, tucked behind a gravel lane that dipped through 2 rows of sycamores before it opened into pasture. The farmhouse leaned a little to the west. The machine shed had one wall that looked tired of standing. The barn roof needed metal, the fences needed a sermon. And the lane washed out every time it rained hard enough, but the land. The land was alive. There was a low hayfield on the south side, oak shade behind the house, and a shallow ravine on the east where Reed Creek turned slow and silver through the brush. The soil in the garden patch was dark as coffee grounds. I bought it with retirement savings, sold my townhouse, and moved in with 1 bed, 2 cast iron pans, and a ridiculous amount of confidence for a man who had never raised anything more demanding than tomatoes in a planter box. For the first month, I barely noticed the subdivision across the county road. It was called Briar Glen Estates. Clean curbs, matching mailboxes, white vinyl fencing. Small ornamental trees held in perfect circles of mulch. It was close enough that I could see porch lights at night, but far enough that it felt like a different country. My farm had been recorded in 1894, Briar Glen had been built in 2011. I assumed we were neighbors, not relatives. Then the envelope arrived. Cream paper. Gold acorn seal. My full name typed in a line, so straight it looked accused. The letter welcomed me to Briar Glen Estates, and informed me that, as the new owner of an adjacent rural parcel, I was subject to the association's covenants. Annual assessment, $1,180, payable in 4 installments. It listed approved exterior colors, fencing restrictions, vehicle storage rules, landscaping requirements, livestock limits, and a community appearance compliance schedule. Then came the sentence that made my coffee go cold. Failure to comply may result in fines, collection action, and a lien against the property. I read it once. Then again. Then I set it flat on the kitchen table and looked out the window at my barn, which was currently 3 shades of old gray and 1 shade of raccoon damage. I am not a man who enjoys a fight. I spent too many years in facility meetings with contractors, inspectors, administrators, and people who believed volume was a form of evidence. I had learned that anger wastes time. Documents do not, so I called the county recorder. By lunch, I had the subdivision plat, the deed history for Whitlow Farm, the tax parcel map, and the recorded restrictions for Briar Glen Estates. I spread everything across my kitchen table: county plat, HOA map, old deed, current survey. A yellow legal pad. At first, the answer looked obvious. Briar Glen Estates ended at County Road 18, my land began on the other side of it, there was no recorded covenant tying Whitlow Farm to the association. No maintenance agreement. No shared private road. No easement granting authority. No annexation language. Nothing. The HOA had drawn a friendly-looking bubble around the neighborhood, and somehow my 52 acres had been swallowed by the bubble. I could have stopped there. A polite letter, a few photocopies, and the matter probably would have died. But something else on that table bothered me. The old deed from 1894 described the eastern boundary differently than the modern survey did. Not wildly different, no missing field, no secret mountain, just a narrow line near the creek, where the handwritten description said the property ran to the middle thread of Reed Creek, while the modern survey stopped short of the water. 31 feet short, at the widest point. That does not sound like much. Unless the strip runs along 410 feet of creek bank, unless the strip contains a spring. Unless that spring is the difference between a hobby and a farm. At that moment, I did not know any of that, all I knew was that one official-looking letter had made me check my records, and my records were disagreeing with each other. So I hired a surveyor. Her name was Marlene Voss. She was 62, sun-browned, blunt, and carried survey equipment like it had personally insulted her. She arrived the following Monday with an assistant named Eli and a pickup full of stakes, flags, and aluminum tripods. Before she even started, she stood in my kitchen, read the 1894 deed twice, and tapped one phrase with her finger. Middle thread of the creek, she said. That used to mean something very specific. Then she asked me if I owned waterproof boots. For 2 days, we walked the boundary, through blackberry cane, under sycamore roots, along fence posts so rotten they looked like dark teeth. Marlene found 2 iron pins exactly where the old deed said they should be. She found a stone marker half buried under moss near the ravine. She found a rusted line of fencing that had not held livestock in decades but still followed the older boundary almost perfectly. The modern survey, she told me, had probably been drawn from an assessor sketch, not a full retracement. Somewhere over the years, convenience had become record. And record had started looking like truth. The narrow strip between the modern mine and Reed Creek had not been stolen, that would have been simpler. It had been ignored. It did not appear on Briar Glen's plat. It did not appear on a neighbor's deed. It was not county land. It was not a drainage easement. It was a forgotten sliver of Whitlow Farm. But getting a surveyor to say it in the field is one thing. Getting a title company, county office, and legal record to accept it is another. That was when the second letter came. This one was not as polished. It came from the management company that handled Briar Glen's paperwork, and it said my property account was delinquent. Delinquent. For an account I had never opened. It also included a note that my unapproved agricultural structures could create a visual nuisance if construction continued. The unapproved structures were 8 raised garden beds and a half-repaired shed. I remember standing in the kitchen with that letter in one hand and Marlene's flagged field map in the other, feeling the whole dream narrow down to paperwork. I had bought land to get away from systems. Now a system I did not belong to was reaching across a road and telling me what I could build. And the one part of the property that might make the farm viable was wrapped in a boundary dispute old enough that everyone involved had to speak in cautious phrases. Potential. Likely. Subject to review. Pending confirmation. I stopped ordering fencing. I postponed the barn roof. I put the greenhouse plan in a folder and closed it. For 3 weeks, the farm felt less like mine than it had on the day I moved in. That was the darkest part. Not the HOA letter. Not the survey bill. Not even the threat of a lien. It was walking land I had paid for, and wondering which parts of it the paperwork would let me keep. Then the title attorney called. His name was Anwar Bell, and he had the careful voice of a man who knew never to celebrate too early. He had reviewed the old deeds, the subdivision plat, Marlene's retracement, the county road dedication, and every recorded easement within 2 parcels. His first words were, "Mr. Mercer, the association has no authority over your farm." I sat down before he finished the sentence. He continued, "Whitlow Farm predated Briar Glen by 117 years. The farm had never been annexed into the subdivision, the county road was a clear dividing line. No covenant ran with my land. No dues were owed. No fines were valid. No lien could be lawfully based on those restrictions." Then he said, "There is also the creek issue. Marlene's retracement was correct. The older boundary controlled. The eastern line of Whitlow Farm ran to the center thread of Reed Creek, just as the 1894 deed described. The missing strip, roughly 31 feet by 410 feet, belonged to my parcel. Just under 1/3 of an acre, not enough land to make a man rich. But enough to change the map. And on that strip was a spring. I had seen water there before, of course, a wet place under the willows. A cold seep where the soil stayed dark even after dry weeks. I had assumed it was runoff. Marlene told me to have it tested, so I called a hydrogeologist named Priya Nandam, who came out with bottles, meters, and the calm expression of someone who spends her life listening to water. She measured the flow twice. Then a third time, 46 gallons per minute in late summer. Clear, cold, steady, and clean enough that the lab results made her raise her eyebrows. "For irrigation," she said, "this is not a puddle, this is infrastructure." That sentence changed how I saw the farm. The hayfield was no longer just open ground, it could become beds. The shed was no longer a repair problem, it could become a wash station. The barn was no longer an old expense, it could become storage, packing, and cold room space. The forgotten strip was not extra land, it was the farm's pulse. I still had to answer the HOA. By then, I had stopped being nervous about it. I wrote one letter. Not angry, not clever, not long. I included the county plat, the title attorney's opinion, the recorded deed chain, and Marlene's corrected survey. I explained that Whitlow Farm was not part of Briar Glen Estates, was not subject to its covenants, and would not be paying association dues. I also asked them to correct their management records so the mistake would not repeat with a future owner. 3 days later, the board president called. Her name was Denise Carroll. She sounded embarrassed before she even introduced herself. The management company had used an overlay map, she said, not the recorded plat. The association had no claim over my property. The account would be deleted, the violation notice would be withdrawn. And she would put all of it in writing. Then she paused. "I hope this doesn't make us bad neighbors," she said. That surprised me. Because somewhere in the middle of defending my boundary, I had started seeing the whole subdivision as one body leaning over my fence. But Briar Glen was not the management company. It was not the envelope. It was not the gold acorn seal. It was people, and people, most of the time, are more complicated than paper. That fall, Denise invited me to their neighborhood harvest supper. I almost said no. Then I looked at the basket of peppers sitting on my counter, more than I could possibly eat, and I went. I brought 2 baskets of produce from the first garden beds. Peppers, late tomatoes, herbs, and squash with dirt still tucked around the stems. The people at Briar Glen did what people do when food is real, they started asking questions. Was I going to sell any? Would I grow more next year? Could they buy weekly boxes? Would I ever do flowers? Did I have eggs? I had gone there to prove I was not part of their HOA. I left with 14 names on a sheet of notebook paper. By spring, Whitlow Farm was no longer a retirement project. It was a plan. I used the spring to feed a drip irrigation system through the first 2 acres of beds. I hired a part-time grower named Lacey Ward, who knew soil biology the way some people know scripture. I brought in a retired carpenter named Miguel Ruiz to help turn the shed into a washing and packing room. We replaced the barn roof. We rebuilt the lane. We planted tomatoes, salad greens, basil, cucumbers, cut flowers, and 2 long rows of blackberries. The work was harder than I expected. Everything on a farm has weight. Compost has weight. Tomato stakes have weight. Wet hoses have weight. Bad decisions have weight. Good decisions have weight, too, only later. But the spring kept running. During the first dry spell, when neighboring gardens crisped at the edges and everybody started watching the sky, our bed stayed alive. Not lush, in a fake way, not effortless. Alive. By June, I had a roadside stand at the end of the gravel lane. By July, we were selling out before noon. By August, 2 restaurants in Bellwether were buying herbs and specialty greens every week. By the second season, we had a 58-household farm share, and more than half the members lived in Briar Glen Estates. Denise became one of our earliest customers. So did the man who had complained at the harvest supper that his wife would never let him eat kale. He now buys 2 bags a week and claims it is for soup. I do not argue with customers, who pay on time. The farm changed slowly, then all at once. The farmhouse got its porch repaired, the machine shed became a tool room, the barn, which had once looked one storm away from surrender, now smells like cedar shelves, damp crates, and basil. We added a small cooler. Then a second greenhouse, then the goats. 3 goats, because apparently I am exactly the kind of retired man who says he will never own goats and then builds them a better house than the one he first lived in. Their names are Bylaw, Quorum, and Lean. That joke still makes me happy. Sometimes, when I walk the eastern boundary, I stop at the spring. The water slides out from under the willow roots, clear enough to show every pebble, cold enough to make your fingers ache. It joins Reed Creek without ceremony. No sign, no announcement, no gold seal, just water going where it has always gone. For years, that strip sat unclaimed by attention. Not by law, not by history, by attention. The deed knew, the iron pins knew, the stone marker under the moss knew, the spring knew, people had simply stopped looking carefully. That is what the letter gave me, not permission, not trouble, though it looked like trouble at first. It gave me a reason to look, and looking carefully is one of the most powerful things a landowner can do, because land is not just acreage on a listing. It is record, water, boundary, soil, memory, mistake, and possibility. You do not really own it because someone hands you keys. You begin to own it when you understand what is under your feet. That cream envelope arrived like a warning. It became a map. And sometimes, the letter that tries to tell you what you owe is the very thing that shows you what is yours.